One of the things that I did mention earlier was, for DevOps people, if you are a DevOps person and you are conversant with Kubernetes, Docker, and some of the other um, containerization platforms or solutions, you can also do that on AWS. I'm sure I mentioned that on Azure we have something called the Azure Kubernetes Service, and here we have something called the Elastic Kubernetes Service, which is the EKS, which is what I'm going to talk about now, is the Elastic Kubernetes Service on AWS. And what this does is it allows you to install and create clusters, okay, Kubernetes clusters that is fully managed and that you can use to, set up your containerized applications and whatnot. This is for people who are already in DevOps and understand Kubernetes in full, as well as how how to set it up. It's pretty easy to set up on AWS. You can simply add a cluster here and follow the steps, or you can use Terraform or whatever information as a code, infrastructure as a code methodology that the company uses. Okay. This is also a paid service, so do well to you can try to create some or read up on it if you want to go into the route of um, DevOps. Okay, this is one of the services that you use on your day to day. You create a cluster, and then inside the cluster you can set up web applications, websites. When you create an EKS cluster, they utilize something called nodes. Okay, and what are nodes? Nodes are the same thing as um, instances. They're the same thing as virtual servers. Okay, so they utilize instances, and those instances are what it breaks down into what we call pods, just to separate compute resources for different services. So you can read up on EKS or Kubernetes if you want to go into DevOps or into that route. Okay, but I'm just to show you that this is also a service that is available on on AWS. And the good thing about most of these services, if you're coming in here for the first time, you would see some details and it'll provide you some information on how it actually works. Okay, you can see a chart here that allows you to see what it does or why you can use this if you want to. One of the major um, use of the EKS is that it allows you to run microservices applications with deep integrations of AWS services. Okay, so it allows you to run little applications which normally shouldn't take up one server, but then you can use one server to create multiple applications using just one um, compute resource. So it's a way to minimize cost and also minimize the use of compute resources on the cloud. So you definitely look into that if you are, interested in DevOps fully. Okay. And another service that I would like to touch on is the certificate manager. If you're talking about websites, okay, I know that some of us, um, if we haven't created a website before, a web application, it's fine. But when we set it up and you want to make sure that um, your website has the secured certificate, which is the HTTPS instead of using HTTP, one of the things that you need is to attach a certificate to it, a TLS certificate. So, AWS allows you to acquire certificates on the platform, and you can use that certificate to attach to any of your either web applications that you create on AWS or outside of AWS. It doesn't matter. Certificates will work. You can create them and attach them as you go. So, this is another service that is used on a day-to-day. It's pretty easy to create one. Just click on create a certificate. I think we should be able to create one using our free tier. So we'll try that. So we create a free public SSL TLS certificate from Amazon. So let's do that. Just, it's pretty straightforward when you're using uh, when you're using the management console. All this you can do with code if you're working with Terraform or if you're working with Posh or Bash. Okay, so let's say we want to create a certificate for our domain or website. This is just for test. Okay, if you say we have 365 NGO training, we can say, hey, this is what we want to create our certificate for. We do uh, maybe email validation, do that, and we just do request certificate, and that's all we need to do, and it will request a certificate for it, and it will automatically generate it. Okay, if we actually have this domain, all right, and we want to connect the certificate to it using Amazon, it's very easy because all we need to do is just add some DNS attributes to to the domain so we can verify it, and then it'll be ready to go. Okay, so you can read up on that's a different field on its own. I'm sorry that I'm saying a lot of things, but we're talking about cloud platforms here, and one of the things that you need to know is that cloud platforms pretty much allows you to do everything that you would normally do using separate solutions on premise. It encompasses a lot of services, and these are just a few of the services that I'm trying to show to you. So it's not just that you can do one thing on the cloud; you can do everything, so to speak. Okay, so whatever it is that you can use any third-party tool for, or third-party solutions, it is available on the cloud using AWS or Azure, and then you can integrate them seamlessly to any of your applications or other services that you have in the same cloud platform. So it's actually very easy. Okay, another thing that I would like to touch on is the AWS backup. Okay, because we talk about backups a lot if you're working in an organization. And when I say this, I mean, let's looking at servers. Okay, you don't want the situation where you cannot recover when something goes down. That's a problem. Okay, or if to prevent data losses, you need to be able to set up retentions and backups for your data, and you can simply set them up in different geographical zones. So because the times that different zones can go down, data centers can have issues, and access to services will be limited. Okay, which is why it is always great to create, but automatically Amazon creates services in different availability zones, just in case one zone goes down, the other one can pick up. But just as for an infrastructure or for an organization, you also need to be able to create backup plans for your data, just so you have them when things do go wrong. You can always recover from those backups. And AWS backup allows you to do that. Allows you to build backup plans that define your backup requirements, including schedules, retentions, and lifecycle rules. You can assign your AWS resources to the backup plans, and they will back up the data from those services, all right, automatically once you attach them to it, which you can do using tags. Okay, and you can also manage AWS backup to centrally manage your configurations, monitor activities across all the AWS services. All right, so you can read up on it, and it's easy to also to set up. Once you enter each of the services, if you know what exactly you want to use that service for, and because and I'll give you an instance. So we're using AWS backup here right now, but there are other services that can also work as a backup. We have lifecycle policies, like lifecycle rules for retention, and we also have you can also use something called the I think Lambda for that. So there's certain services that you can use. So you need to check and see which one is more cost effective, which one is more flexible, and which one works best for your infrastructure. Okay, so don't just go creating services if you don't have the need for it. So you need to do research and understand the services better. This is why you need to do research, and it's not something that everyone knows entirely. It is something that as you work on a day to day, you would get to learn new things as you go, and also, understand the infrastructure better and what service would work for your infrastructure. Okay, so always put that in mind. Okay, so we're just going to let's see. We have a we have two servers created, so let's see if we can create a backup plan for them. Okay, so we're going to do a 35-day retention. We'll call this training backup. Okay, and we say, let's add tags to it. Name backup. Okay, daily backup. And we create a plan. Okay, so let's use training as this. Backup. If you equal, so this was simply it's easy to add your resources to a specific backup plan that you create using tags. So we want to make sure that we create a tag called backup, so we can go back into our servers and just tag those servers as backup, so that it can take on this backup plan that we just created. So it's very easy to assign, resources um, to your backup plan. Okay, so we've created something called the training backup. All right, I'm going to go back into my EC2 instances to attach that backup plan to our instance. Okay, so we have the training tool here. I'm just going to click on it, and then here you would see the details of your server. We'll just go to tags, and we'll add a tag. Let's add tag. See if we can add another name tag, and we do back. We do save. Okay, so now we've attached the backup tag to our server. If we go back to the backup plan, go to backup plans, we have a training backup here. We should be able to see or assign resources here. Let's see, let's go back. There we go. All right, so it's a backup with a capital B. It needs to be case sensitive, so let's go back. Okay, go back to the tags, manage tags, do one with the capital B. There we go. And then we save. So with that tag already added, our server will automatically follow the backup plan we've set, and it will back up the data on our server every day. Okay, so it's easy as that. Remember that you can also use, Terraform or PowerShell or Cloud Shell to manage all of this without signing into the management console, which is one of the attributes that companies like, to be able to manage your infrastructure using code. So you need to brush up your skills as well on either PowerShell, on Bash, or if you want to, use Terraform, you can brush up your skill on Terraform or a PowerShell as well, or Cloud Shell. It's not something very hard. It's not programming. It's scripting. So it's easier to learn and easier to get your hands on or get into. Okay. So I think I've been able to touch on most of most of the services that are used daily, or basic services on AWS. We did mention email. Okay, so the service that manages emails on AWS is something called the SES, a Simple Mail Service, the Amazon Simple Mail Service, which is what I'm going to show you, because I mentioned this during the PowerPoint, and I said that, on Amazon Web Service they do have an email service as well that allows you to create um, an email service. You can attach a domain to it and allows you to send emails back and forth, through SES. So, it's a cloud-based email service for Amazon, which is, it provides a cost-effective, flexible, and scalable ways for businesses to keep in contact with customers through emails. So this is the service that allows you to create, email. People use this mostly for the services, but it's not as acute as Exchange, or as acute as using Google Mail services like G Suite for enterprise level. So this is just a backup for your services to send mails, or if they require a mail service to actually work. Okay, so it's available, right? It's not as acute as those other mail services that I've mentioned, but they do have it. So just for you to know that it's available there. If you need something quick or something very easy to set up, it's available for you at any time. Okay, so that's majorly most of the services that are available on AWS. You can always play around with a lot more of the services. You can go to view all services and you bring it back to this page, and you can see a lot more of the services that are available on AWS. You can simply look at each of the names if you want to know more about them, and you can get details of them, their documentations on AWS, and you can go to google.com and say, oh, yeah, this is trouble, and say, hey, I want to set up a website on AWS. So, how to set up a website on AWS. This is for new beginners, right? And it would take you, the first thing it will bring up will be an Amazon Web Service documentation on how to create it and how to set it up using the different services that are available on AWS. And it's pretty straightforward. You just need to follow the steps here, and it take about 10 minutes to create. Okay, so it's one of the things that I can tell you about cloud solutions. It is easily accessible, and there are documentations for every service that you would get your hands on or that you would like to use. So you should, your go-to should be the documentations if you need to learn about a service, and if you need to, do um, a few things on AWS that you don't know how to do. Okay, so it's very very easy and very straightforward. I think we tried creating a web application, a low app on Azure. Let me see if we can set that up here. A domain. So let's see. I think that one's paid for. Yeah, we can't add a custom domain because we don't have one. So we're just gonna do. All right, so we can use the service AWS Amplify, which should be under AWS Amplify. Let's search for it. There we go. Okay, so this is a service on AWS that allows you to create and develop web and mobile applications, scalable web and mobile applications. And yeah, I think it's a tool that allows you to, easily create programmers or developers to easily create your mobile applications and scale it on the web very quickly. Okay, so you can play around with it. I think you can create at least one using the free tier and the UI and whatnot. And you can also, just host the web app on the web on AWS as well. So You can play around with that, or just read up on the documentations and see on that. So research and learn how to actually use any of these services very easily online. And if you're conversant with the platform and you know your way around it, then you can proceed to testing your knowledge of AWS by writing the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, which is the equivalent of the Azure fundamental exam. Okay, so you can write the Cloud Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. It's a 90 minutes exam. It's the lowest foundational exam that you can write on AWS, and you can use this just to test your understanding of AWS cloud services and terminologies, and it's a good way to start up your AWS journey, and to see if you actually know what you're doing, or you actually are conversant with most of the services on AWS. Okay, so you can once you've tested your hands and you think you're ready to progress in your AWS career, you can always write the exam to test your skills. If you pass it, if it's very easy for you, then you can move up into something more streamlined or dedicated. Okay, um, which there are a lot of training and exams that you can look into. All right, a lot of them specified to what you want. Okay, like I said, this is the lowest, but then you can move on to writing either the data engineer or the developer, solutions architect, and a lot more of the certifications that are available, especially the specialty certifications. As I mentioned, if you're a networking person and you want to focus mainly on networking, you can write the advanced networking certification. If you're a security specialist and you just want to focus on, the securing data and workloads in AWS, you can write this one. So there's specialty certification, and I can assure you that all these are certifications that are widely asked for in the workplace right now, because AWS is one of the leading cloud platforms out there used globally. So if you have any of these certifications, you're good to go to find a job in that career path. Okay, so please do well to do more research, play around with the play around on the my console, try new services that you can create using the free tier, and really enjoy your time as you go through it and as you learn a lot of the services that are on there, and available for use. I'm gonna go back to our EC2, just shut down the servers that we created, which is easy to do. Actually, I'm going to shut down both of them, and we can simply just select both of them, come to instance state, and we can either stop the instance, reboot the instance, or terminate the instances, which means delete the service. So we can either click here to delete the service, we can click here to stop the service, or we can click here to reboot them if you want to restart the server. Okay. Before I go, there was one thing that I wanted to let us know, which is CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is very similar to Azure monitoring. Okay, it's a way to monitor all your services on the cloud. Okay, so if you have tons of services set up as an organization on the cloud on AWS, but you want to go to you want to be able to set up alerts, set up alarms, look at the metrics, look at the logs, or to see how your services are actually holding up. CloudWatch allows you to be able to see all those data, and also, be able to access any of the logs and metrics all in one place. So this is very good for monitoring. For some of you who want to go into site reliability, or as well as monitoring aspect of cloud. This is very useful for AWS. For Azure, they have something called Azure Monitoring or Azure Monitor, which covers all the services on Azure. But here on AWS, we use something called CloudWatch, and I just want to show you so that you can see example of what I'm talking about. We're going to scroll down to EC2s, which are instances. Okay, and you would see that it automatically gives us the data on the CPU utilization of both our servers that we have running. Okay, as you can see here, you would see both the servers, and you would see, details on the level of CPU usage, as well as, the volumes, and bytes read, and bytes that are written, what changes have been done. So this will give you all the logs depending on what you want to check. Actually, the more services that you set up, the more you'll be able to access logs, and you can also connect this to more um, to third-party monitoring systems like Prometheus or Grafana. If working with third-party solutions like that, to be able to get those data and visualize them in graph-like representations, or whatnot. So these are more advanced if you're going into the field of monitoring, the DevOps side of things, or just cloud administration in general. And if you also create web applications or mobile applications on the web, and you want to manage or see, traffic, or monitor how your websites are doing or how your web applications are actually doing, you can configure application insights. So when you do set up your web applications, you turn that feature on your application, and we'll be able to, view the data going in and out and monitor your web application's performance, on CloudWatch as well. So this is very useful. It's a very useful tool for us cloud administrators to actually see what's actually going on, with our services at first glance, and also get detailed reports and metrics that are actually something most companies ask for these days. It's something that they do want to know, and they ask for per instance matrices all the time. And you can also set up alerts to alert you, maybe if an instance goes down, or if a server shuts down, or if there's an issue. You can set up alerts, and it will automatically send you mails and say, hey, this server is down, you should look at it, and things like that. So this is very important, and it's something that you should also know or be aware of if you're willing to write the cloud practitioner exams. Is one of the major services available on AWS as well. Okay, so I forgot to mention that, but it's there and it's available for you to actually have a brief overview of the performances of any of the services that you have on AWS. Okay, that being said, I will proceed to disable my servers here. Okay, it's also easy for you to look at the details right in the instances as well. If you're looking at CPU utilization, network packets, in and out the disks and all of that. You can also see some of the graphs here for you available at any time. But that's not what we want to do now. We want to terminate the servers or just shut them down. I'm just going to shut them down. No need to terminate them. So I'll click on stop instances. I'll say yes. I want to stop both of them. Stopping is the same as shutting down the instances. Okay. And once that's done, yeah, it's done. So they've been stopped, and they would just be available. They will still be available because I didn't terminate them. If you terminate them, that means you are deleting the instance. Okay, but that's not what we want to do. We just want to stop it, and yeah, it's as easy as that. Okay, so I hope that you've been able to get one or two things today on AWS. It's a basic introduction into the, how to actually, go around with it. Once you're able to get to the stage where you are able to access the management console like this, then you're one step closer to, understanding how to actually use the platform to your advantage or to your company's advantage. Okay, if you're starting a career and you say you're a cloud specialist, you will be applying to jobs like as a cloud engineer or as a cloud administrator, or you know or if you're in DevOps, you will need to have some experience with cloud computing, because if you're working with a company that has created their application on AWS, which means they use AWS for management, you will need to be able to access and apply yourself using the platform. Okay, so you don't want to go, so it's an important part of your career if you're going into IT, or if you're going into DevOps, or if you're going into something more cloud based, because eventually everyone is going to go cloud based, because it's more sustainable, it's flexible, and it's more cost effective. Okay, so I'll stop here for today. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the organizers, and we would make sure to answer your questions um, as they come up, as they arise. And thank you very much. Do remember to play around with your free subscription still works for about 6 months, I think, and you can play around with it. Do some research, learn more on the documentations, see what services are useful that you can play around with, you can create, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and that will be ending this.